Hi, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Denali webinar for June 17th, 2015. Today we are going to do a special webinar to preview the new job cost module coming out in Denali. I just want to emphasize that this is just a sneak peek preview because we are still in development of our job cost. It is coming soon, but it's not quite ready yet. So we're going to go over some of the new features and benefits of the Denali job cost here today to give you guys just a preview of what you can expect when it's released. My name is Jeremy Beislein. I am a trainer here at Cougar Mountain Software, and I'll be your presenter today, going over the new job cost module with you today here. If you have any comments or questions, we ask that you keep your mic muted and just type in your questions or comments in the chat, and we'll respond to those at the end of the webinar. We'll have a short Q&A session to get to all of your questions there. But we do have a lot to cover today, so we do ask that you keep your mic muted as we go through our presentation today. All right, so with that, we'll go ahead and get started. Just to go over our agenda today, we're going to be talking about the new features in module preferences for job cost. We're going to be talking about how Denali job cost sets up your cost codes and phase templates. We're going to be showing you the new job master, which is where you set up new jobs that you're doing for your organization. We'll talk about how Denali does cost and billing activity and how the job cost module integrates with the other modules. We're going to talk about the new purchase order option in Denali job cost, and also go over some of the new reports that we have available for you. Then at the end, we'll go ahead and answer your questions. We've got about a half hour today, so we've got a lot to cover, and if I don't get to all your questions before we run out of time, then we will post the remaining questions with all the answers on the website after the presentation has been uploaded for you. All right, so with that, we'll go ahead and get started with our new job cost module here in Denali. Now, just to kind of give you a little overview of job costing, basically the concept behind it is to set up a job master, which is where you set up all of your estimated costs for the job. Then you can go through and process your job costing activities, which is where you spend money for the job. Then you process billing activities, which is where you bill your customers and receive money for the job. And it is all kept track of in a nice, neat format here in the job cost module for you. All right, so with that, we will go ahead and jump right into our module to show you what we have so far. Now, for those of you who are new to Cougar Mountain, if you have not seen Cougar Mountain Denali software, what you're seeing now is the controller module, which is the gateway to the Cougar Mountain Denali suite of accounting software. And across the top, you've got all of your different buttons that take you to all of your different modules that are available in Denali. And today we're going to be focusing on job cost. Now, job cost is not yet available in the current release of Denali, but it is coming soon. So stand by and it will be available. But what we have today is our preview. So I'll go ahead and launch the Denali that we have, the job cost module we have. And all of the modules have a nice, neat navigation screen when you launch the module that pops up. Again, since we're in development, this navigation screen is going to change to the final product. We don't have it completed yet, but these will be the main functions that you click on when you go into the job cost module, such as billing activity and cost activity, and down here at the bottom where you set up jobs, set up preferences, and so forth. Over on the right, we have a nice navigation screen for the different functions as well that correspond to the menus at the top here. With your options here, different categories and different reporting options as well. So you'll see that you'll see the development of this navigation screen progress as we go further. But for now, since we don't quite have the finished paint job done on job cost, I'm going to go ahead and switch over to Classic View, which for those who currently have the Cougar Mountain Professional Suite and are using the job cost module, when you load the job cost with Classic View, it looks more like the Professional Suite, which does not include the front screen navigation options there. But you still have all functions in the menus up here, just like you do in the other modules. Okay, so the first thing we're going to talk about is the new features in module preferences. Now, for those who use the professional series of job cost, you had to set up class codes for your work in progress accounts, department codes for your expense accounts, and your billing codes for your revenue accounts for your jobs. However, with Denali job cost, you don't have to set up those codes anymore. It is all done in the module preferences. You just set the default accounts for your expense accounts and your work in progress accounts and your revenue accounts. These are the default accounts, and then for each individual job, if you don't assign these accounts to the job, Denali will just use the default accounts that you've set up here in module preferences. So if you're using the same general ledger accounts for your revenue and expenses and work in progress, right here's work in progress, then you don't have to set them up individually for each job. You just set them up once in module preferences and you're good to go. However, if you have different revenue, expense, and work in progress accounts, you can assign those separately in the job master. The next thing we have available here is your Costco templates. There's 4 types of cost codes in Denali job cost. You have the material cost codes, the subcontractor cost codes, the general, which is everything else that doesn't fall under one of these other 4 types, and then the process. Now the process is for labor and for use of equipment, things like that. So it's a little more detailed to kind of correspond with the hours and the labor that is put into the job. But we'll start with the material cost codes. Now, with your material cost code, you just set up as a template here. This right here allows you to predefine specific cost codes that you're going to be using throughout your organization. You set up the template, and if you've got the inventory module, the Denali inventory module, you can include an inventory item, a stock number item from the module as part of this material cost code. But that is optional, it's not required. And you just fill in the information for this particular cost code. How many units are we going to be using on this code, and what is the cost per unit and the cost estimate. One thing I wanted to show you that's new from the professional series that Denali now has is we have a pricing estimate. If you put in a cost here of, say, $1,500 for this material cost code, you can set a price markup margin or a fixed dollar amount of what you are going to receive from the customer for items under this cost code. If we do a markup and do a 50% markup, as you can see now our pricing estimate is $22.50 that we give to our customer for this particular item on the job. Okay, and the other cost codes, the subcontractor in general, are very similar. They're just subcategories, but they do not allow you to pick an inventory item because it's not related to material, to the material on the job. All the other features are very similar on those. The process, though, this is where you put in a code that you use for labor on the job or also for the use of equipment that you have on the job. And you can combine labor and equipment on the same code if needed. Labor is your man hours for this code, and the equipment is the equipment that those employees are going to be using as part of this process code. Now, of course, with Denali directly integrating with the payroll module, when you enter payroll activity and you assign that activity to the job, then Denali will automatically know what to include as the job costing activity for the payroll based on the process code that is set up here. Now, these are templates that we're going over here, so you can predefine these templates in advance, but you don't have to in Denali. That's what's great. And when we get to the job master, I'll show you how you can add these codes on the fly for the individual jobs as needed. The next template we have is our phase templates. So you can break up your jobs in phases. And what's nice about the phase template is, again, you can set up the template and then you assign all of the cost codes underneath this template. So we have a phase set up. In our example here, our phase is just A, and the description we have is just A. You can put in whatever you need to for the phase template code and the description. And then you go down here and fill in all of your cost codes for that phase template. And it gives you a total at the top of the phase template in the green bar here. It gives you a total of all of your cost codes combined. And then you can set up as many phase templates as that you need to set up for your jobs that you're going to be doing in your organization. Now, once we've got our templates set up, or maybe we don't have them set up yet because we're going to set up our cost codes and phases for each job, then you go to your job management. Now in Denali, this is the new job management, the job master setup for setting up an actual job for your customers. This is where you put in all of the information for the job, including all of your different estimated costs and estimated prices as well. The estimated prices are set up on the cost codes, and with that you can generate an actual estimate for your customer to go along with the customer's bid that you give that. Now when you're setting up a job, you have to create a job number, then you put the job description, you can put in a project manager, and there's two main types of jobs. There's a make to order and a make to stock. The difference between these two is a make to order job is a job that you are basically doing as a project for a customer. This is typical for construction firms that are using job cost. If you're doing a construction project, that's going to be a make to order job. Make to stock is going to be a job that you set up for a specific stock number in inventory instead of for a job that you're doing for a customer. So make to stock jobs are typical for manufacturing firms, that you build items that you sell to your customers, but when you build those items, they will be added to your inventory. And then you can sell those items from your inventory using the Denali sales functions that you have with your Denali package. So those are the two main types of jobs. We're going to focus on a make-to-order job for this presentation today. If it's a make-to-order, you put in your customer here. If you've got the accounts receivable module, this you can double-click here and bring up a list of all of your customers from accounts receivable that you have set up. You can also put the customer's PO number and contact information on the job as well. Then you come down here and you add your phases as needed for the job, but we have to actually create the job first. So what I'm going to do, because we're short on time, is we're going to bring up an existing job that we have set up here for you. And now you can see all of the information for this job is in one nice, neat grid here in the new Denali Job Cost Master, the Job Master. So those of you who are using the professional job cost, you'll see how Denali makes it a lot more convenient to set up your jobs here, because you add your phases to the job here and then you add your codes under each phase as needed. Now if the phase is a template you're adding, all the codes will automatically pop in for you that are under that template, but you can add additional codes for this job as needed right on the fly. So I'll show you that here. What I want to show you first though is that with Denali you can go full screen so that you can see the full detail of the job. And you can also scroll over, but the first three columns are locked in place, which is your type of code and the code itself and the description for that particular cost activity. And then you have all the different details for those, for each one of these codes that you have set up. Now when we click the edit button here, it allows us to edit the information on this job. So at this point, before I start editing, I wanted to also show you, if you don't need to see the full breakdown of all the individual cost codes on this job, then you can just click on Display the Summary Grid, and now we just see the breakdown of each phase. See our job we have here, we've got set up in four different phases, 1, 2, 3, 4. The fifth one at the bottom is a new phase that's ready to be added if needed. So you do the Summary Grid, and we just see the total for each phase. Then if you wanted to see a specific phase, the breakdown, you just click on the little arrow here and it pulls up all the cost codes under that phase. Now when you look at the amount for each of these codes that you put in here, your budgeted amount, your price estimate, let's scroll over to get the estimated amount, which is the main amount you're going with, and the cost per unit, then the total of all of these are shown here in the extended, the cost estimate extended, and that is added up at the top in the green line here for that phase. All of the cost codes under that phase are totaled above each cost code in the green line here. And then at the very top in this lavender line here, we have a grand total for the entire job of all of these different columns that you see here. Now when we edit the job, it unlocks the job so we can go in and edit the information as needed. One of the great things about Denali that our pro users are going to love is you can edit the information right here on the grid as needed. You don't have to open the cost code and edit the code. You can just type in the numbers as needed. Maybe we only need 45 of these quantities of cement. I guess that would be yards instead of 50. So we just put 45 in there, and it'll automatically update our cost on our job master just by putting in the information. You can edit the budget. You can edit the price estimate as well. And you can edit the required date over here on the right. This is your scheduling for this particular cost code, and your accounts payable vendor that's associated with that particular cost code. All of that information can be edited right here in the grid, or you can double click and bring up a new cost code. If you need to add a new cost code here, you select the type of cost code you're adding, and then you go to the next screen and double click on there, and it brings up a list of all cost code templates you have set up in the templates under general. Since we selected general here, these are our general templates. If we select material, we double click and bring up a list of all of our material templates that we have set up. But remember what I was saying at the first is that you don't have to set these templates in advance. You don't have to set these up in advance. If you want to set up a template for this job, a cost code for this job, and the template is not set up yet, you just simply click Add. And now you've got the new cost code set up right here that you can do right here on the fly to add to this job. And then you go ahead and set that up, and it will be added to the job once that's put in. Okay, so that is the new Denali Job Master screen right there. All right, so we're going to talk about the costing and billing activity in Denali. With the job cost module, you can enter cost activity directly in job cost here under the cost activity option if you are only tracking this activity in the job cost module. Now, what's nice about this is you can enter activity without actually sending any kind of billing or spending activity to other modules this way. It will still track the activity in general ledger for you as needed to put your information, your dollar amounts in your work in progress accounts and so forth. But the cost activity here does not send an invoice to accounts payable for the AP vendor. But if you want to do that, you do have that option under Enter Bills in AP. If you have the accounts payable module integrated to job cost, you have this second option on the menu, and this is all of your accounts payable functions. What's great about this is when you go in and enter an accounts payable bill from a vendor that you get for a specific job, this will post directly to the accounts payable module, and it will also post as a cost activity here to the job cost module. But those of you who currently have the accounts payable module in Denali, you'll notice this form. It's very similar. It's actually the same form that Denali accounts payable uses. You put in your vendor number, you put in your invoice number, PO number, you can put in the discount amount, but it defaults based on the vendor terms, and you put in all of your dates over here, just like in accounts payable. It's the same way. And then down here in the grid, instead of direct, material, and all of that, what you select in the job cost is what kind of a cost code are we billing for? Is this vendor billing us for? If it's a material code, we put in the information for that, the job number, the phase, fill that all out, save it, and post it through. When you do that, this cost activity will post to the job that's associated with this activity, as you can see here, under the specific phase and cost code with that activity. And when we save and post that, it will post to each of these jobs that you have set up under this vendor invoice, and it will also post this invoice to the accounts payable module ready to be paid. Another option you can do is you can write out immediate checks right here under this same screen. So if you wrote a check for a job and you didn't get the bill for it ahead of time, you can fill out all the information for the check. And this too will post through the accounts payable module to the bank rec. It will post through accounts payable to bank rec though. There is no direct integration from job cost to bank rec, but if you have accounts payable and the bank rec module integrated, this transaction will post through correctly to all of the modules as needed. And it will also record the cost activity as you fill it out down here in the grid. Now I've got a red exclamation point because I got to finish filling in the rest of the information. But due to the interest of time, I'll skip that for now, and we'll jump into the billing activity. So your billing activity is under the invoicing. This is where you bill your customers for the jobs. Now, for those of you who have the Denali order entry module, the sales order entry module, this is going to be very easy for you, because what you do when you bill a job, if it's a make-to-order job, which is like a construction project, when you're ready to bill your customer for that job, you go under the invoicing option here and you just enter bills in order entry. This just takes you directly to the order entry module. And so right there, those of you who have Denali order entry, you've got your module, you've got your order entry layout screen already set up for you, and here you go. You can go ahead and submit the billing to your customer for this job. So it uses the same order entry screen that order entry uses. Very nice. Now, if it's a make-to-stock job, this transaction is handled directly in the job cost module, and it will post to inventory. What happens here is when you put in a make-to-stock job number, and then you're putting in the stock number that you're adding to inventory here, this will relieve the work in progress and add this item to inventory. This is basically like billing a make-to-stock job. But we're not billing a customer because we're just adding these completed items for this job to our inventory at this point. Okay, now some of the reports we were going to cover. Oh, there was one more activity I have to cover first. After a costing and billing activity, under the cost activity, Denali has a very nice feature to generate purchase orders right here in job cost. Now this works directly with the purchase order module in Denali. When you go in here to generate purchase orders, the first thing it asks you is for a buyer that you have set up in the purchase order module to log on to create the purchase order. Now keep in mind that if you have the buyer set up in purchase order if that buyer is authorized to generate purchase orders in the job cost module, then all of the PO security settings are overridden, and it is basically gives that buyer the rights and privileges that are available in job cost. So if you don't want those security settings for a specific buyer, they would not have the authority to generate purchase orders from job cost. They have to go directly in the purchase order module. But right here, when you're generating the purchase orders, it's a real simple format. You just fill out what the required date is for each of the cost codes that you're ordering for. And we're going to back that up to January 1st and go through today's date. Then you put in the job number, or you can just put in a range of jobs, or just leave it blank and go all jobs if you want to generate purchase orders for all jobs. You can also narrow it down by phase or specific to the actual cost code itself, but we'll leave those. You can also select just a specific vendor that you want to generate a purchase order from. Now, you can tell the system to only generate inventory items, or if you have cost codes set up that are non-inventory codes, then you can generate purchase orders for all other items as well. Now, when you're setting up the purchase order in job cost, then it's asking you which vendor do you want to order from for this job on all your purchase orders. And these are your different options here. From the cost code, the primary vendor, best cost, last ordered, or shortest lead. These are basically the vendors you have set up in the different parts of Denali. Now, if you're ordering for a construction project, you may have some of the items in stock already that you're ordering for that job. However, if those items you have in stock are already earmarked for other projects, or you've ordered those to be sold over the counter, you can ignore the stock quantities available, and it will order the full amount for that job, regardless of how many you have available in inventory. You can also subtract items on order. For any items that you have already ordered in purchase order and you're generating a new purchase order now, you might not want to order those same items again. So you can check this box to subtract the on-order items from the current purchase orders that we're generating here. So some really nice features here for job cost purposes when generating purchase orders. And next, you just go in here and put in the PO date, the expected date, and the starting PO number. This number automatically populates from purchase order module, but you can change that here if needed as long as it's not duplicated. When we click Next, it brings up a list of all purchase orders that will be generated as run of purchase orders based on the parameters we have put in. And if you scroll over here, we see all of the items and the quantities that we're ordering for those items and the vendors that we're ordering from. Now, because all of these are the same vendor, this system will just generate one purchase order. But what's nice here is you can change the vendor here if needed. If you want to order this item from a different vendor, you can change that right here in this grid. If you only want to order 45 instead of 50, you can change that right here before generating your purchase orders. Or however you want to change these items. You can also run reports. You can run an availability report by clicking on the buttons here. An on order report by clicking on this button. This shows us what's on order for that particular item. Do we still want to order these or no? We've got 500 already on order of this item. So you can see a list of all items on order for that particular item, all current purchase orders in place. And if everything looks good here, or maybe you can uncheck these if there's some of them you don't want to order at all. So you can select which ones you want to order at this point. If everything looks good, we just go ahead and click Generate, and it tells us one purchase order was generated because all of these items are under the same vendor. So it will combine all of your vendors, all items, to one purchase order for each vendor that's applicable. And when we click OK, then we can now go to our purchase order module, and we will see that that purchase order has been generated and is ready to be received once the shipment comes in for those items. So if we go to our Enter Purchase Order screen here and bring up a list of all of our current purchase orders that we have already saved, we will see the one we just generated today at the bottom of our list, because this is sorted by date. Right there, 6/17. That's the you can go through and still make changes to this purchase order if needed, provided you have purchase order set to be open like you do in the purchase order module preferences. And you can add items to this order if needed, whatever you need to do on that. And then you just follow the receiving process just like you do with any other purchase order. And when you post the receiving transaction, the cost activity will automatically post to the job cost module, since we have our job cost integration turned on. Okay, we're getting a little short on time here, so I'll go over some of the reports that job cost has available for you. One of the reports I wanted to show you is the scheduling report. When you bring up the job scheduling report, if you run it based on job due date, then you get a list of all items that are due on a specific date and all the detail for that. Date required, the planned start date, and the completion date. And this is the cost code under this job. It's sorted by job. So these are all the cost codes under that job, and it gives the information of when those items are due. But what's nice about this report is if you sort it by cost code required date instead, then this basically combines all jobs into one nice, neat report, and it's listed by cost code. So now your cost code items, your material code, your process code, your general code, those cost codes, you'll see a nice, clean report that shows you each cost code right over here in the middle column, but it shows the job first, the phase under that job, and then the cost code, and the required date and the start date for that particular item. So this is a very nice report for scheduling purposes that you can run in Denali Job Cost. Another report, and this is new to Denali, is your price estimate report. Now remember when we were setting up the cost codes where you had the price markup or margin or fixed pricing you could put on that code, that is for your price estimate report. Now when we run this report, it actually shows you a price estimate that you can submit to your customer with your bidding right there. So here's our customer, sold to, shipped to, and this is our job estimate, and this is a list of all of our codes for this job, how many of each of these we need, the price per unit and the total price, and at the bottom of our report we have a grand total of all items on there. Now, you can also tell on the estimate to include change orders or include notes as well. I don't know if I have any set up on this job or not, so it might not show me anything, but let's just take a look real quick. So you have change orders and notes down here. I don't have any set up on this job, but you can see where it would put those notes there. And those are set up in your job master in Denali. Okay, so that is a brief preview of the job cost module in Denali, so that it gives you some ideas of what we have available for you. Here's some screenshots here of how these are set up. Scroll through those. We've already covered these real quick here. How you can add information on the fly. And then we go ahead and go to our reports here. Posting report there. Module preferences and integrations. We talked about our job cost integrations when you're entering cost activity and billing activity and so forth. And our estimate report there. All right, so the Denali job cost module is coming soon. So I just wanted to make sure that you're all aware of that. We will be getting that out to you as soon as we can get it going here. But for now, we've got the brief preview here. If you have any questions or concerns, or if you have any feedback of any additional features that you would like to see in job cost, be sure to check out our website and click on the feedback link and put in your feedback there, or contact your sales representative, because they can definitely help you with that and answer your questions. For questions today, I've got a few minutes. We can go ahead and see if we have any questions. Okay, so Robert's asking, when entering job cost activity, how does job cost accumulate the labor costs? So in Denali, that is a really good question. That is a very good question, Robert. In Denali, what's going to happen on that is you're going to go to the payroll module to enter your labor cost activity itself. Job cost will be directly integrated with payroll, but it works from payroll to job cost for the actual activity. You set up your process codes in job cost for each job, but then when you're entering the employee payroll information here in the payroll module, then let's say we're going to pay an employee basically. We're going to run a payroll. Here's a list of all of our employees that we're paying here. For this employee, though, you can take the hours that this employee worked, and here's where you assign it to the job. You select the job number here, the phase that they worked on here, and then the cost code, the process code for that phase. And look at that, we don't have any process codes under framing yet. So let's find one with a process code. Look at that, we do have one there, paint spray under interior. So now the 20 hours that are assigned to this employee's paycheck for this pay period, which comes out to be $700, will be assigned to this process code and automatically posted to this job once the paycheck posts. All fields reset and must be retyped. Can this be changed to keep all fields except the quantity? Yes, Robert. Basically in payroll, those are functions in the Denali payroll module where when you enter the daily units, once those units are entered, then the information will stay in there for you. If you're going to enter daily units or import those units from a time card program, then the daily units also has the options to add those, the job and the process, the phase, and the job to the units themselves. And that way you can go in and add those units on a daily basis as needed with those fields already filled in for you. Okay, so just wanted to make sure that you're aware of our upcoming webinars. We do have our next webinar coming up here. Let me see. So if you go to the website, cougarmountain.com, you can see this site right here. And this shows you a list of all of our upcoming webinars. Here's today's. So next week we have Taking the Manual Out of Sales Tax Processing. We're going to be talking about the new AvaTax feature in Denali. So be sure to check back with us on that because that's going to be really cool. All right, any questions or comments? Contact your sales rep or send emails to sales@cougarmountain.com. You can also go to our website at cougarmountain.com to look at any resources and click on the feedback link to put in your questions or comments. We love to hear feedback from our customers, so be sure to let us know. And thank you so much for joining us today. That concludes our presentation. Be sure to keep an eye out for follow-up communications for access to this recorded presentation. You know what? I think I had my screen paused and I didn't even show you that. So, but yes, be sure to check back with us. keep an eye out for this recorded communication, access to this presentation, and that will be posted up on our website. And if I can go back and show you what I was showing. Here is the website for the monthly webinars. That's what I was showing you there. So be sure to check that out. Contact your sales rep if needed, and thank you so much. It's been great. We'll hope to see you next week.